Hey Zaka family! Zaka is launching an exclusive membership platform to provide you with career development workshops, coaching, community, and so much more. Go to ZakaConnect.com and sign up to receive information on how to access early registration and perks. Hello, everybody. This is Paul Herman, the Prince of Motivation and host of Zaka Presents My Journey. We're creating this vulnerable and positive platform where you can get inspired from different leaders from our community. Today, our guest is Mischka Crichton, who is the CEO of Toronto Caribbean Carnival. Mischka, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. I'm looking forward to hearing all the wonderful things you got going over there in Toronto. I know that that's the borderline right there, the crossover from the States.
I was going to ask, have you been?
Of course, my sister's from Brampton. Well,
okay, so you really know them.
She's not from Brampton. She was born and raised in the Bronx like myself, but moved to Brampton, got married, and had kids. So I come up there once in a while. But I haven't partied as much with the Caribbean community as I would like. So, hint, hint.
So after this, I'm going to see you in town for Toronto Caribbean Carnival 2024. That's it.
That sounds real good.
It's a verbal agreement.
Oh, she got me. You got me. You're going to put me on one of those posties right there. I got you. Mm-hmm. Yes. But before we jump into that and we talk all about the wonderful things you got going on in Toronto and also with the Caribbean Carnival, just let us know, the listeners know, a little bit more about your background and where you grew up.
So I was born and raised in Scarborough, Ontario. So Scarborough, a subset of Toronto. Mm-hmm. I've lived there my entire life, but I love to tell people that I'm Scarborough born and raised, but Vincy rooted. So my parents are from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I have my little flag here.
You don't know, sister. Wave your flag.
Thank you. My parents are from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and I mean that's something that I am so proud of. I used to wish when I was a kid, I was like, man, why didn't they have me in St. Vincent so I could like really be a Vincentian? But as I've come along the way, I've learned that I too am a true Vincy. We're just, I don't know, grew up somewhere else.
Yeah. Okay. Do you go back home?
All the time. So basically my summers were my mom, my sister, and I in the mass camp making costumes. And every other summer, in addition to that, we would also go to St. Vincent. So it's my mom's birthplace, her motherland. And we'd spend about 4 to 6 weeks there just, I remember when I used to get there, I'd be like, oh man, like, your little friends back home and all this stuff. But after spending a week there, and definitely by the end of the vacation, it always felt a little bit heartbreaking to know that we were going to get back on a plane and go back to Toronto.
Yeah. Life is totally different from the States and also in the Caribbean. Speaking for myself as well, too. My father is St. Lucian and my mother's Jamaican.
Oh, cool.
So I was constantly in the Caribbean, and it was just one of those things, it's a big shift, from both sides of the fence. But I'm blessed that, individuals like ourselves had the opportunity to see both sides of the fence. And that brings me to my next question. Like, talk a little bit more about what does your culture mean to you? And like, what are some of the lessons you learned as a child growing up?
Everything. I kind of recently told somebody, this is about people's lives. It's not just, this festival that I'm a part of. It's not just a party, it represents this freedom and liberation from being enslaved. And for me personally, my culture reminds me every single day, even working here, how resilient I am and how resilient we are as a people. We're so resourceful. We have proven, for decades, for hundreds of years, that as much as I wish we didn't have to endure so many of the things that we did, but that we're survivors and we're fighters and we can do anything. So I think that's one of the more important things. And then the second thing for sure is just how much, I spent so much time trying to figure out what I was good at. I kind of knew I could do something in business. I knew I was artistic. I spent a lot of time in the carnival arts. Um, but I was like, what am I going to be a master at? They say spend 10,000 hours on something and you can become a master. And the entire joke on me is the place where I became the CEO, the place where I've gotten to apply all of my skills and my talents and everything I care about, ended up being inside of the thing that it was just second nature to me, my culture and this participation. It was just
Mm,
something that we did. It was who we are. It was my life. So now to kind of have that play such a huge role in my career, it's a little bit mind blowing and boggling to think, hammering away, on the career ladder. And all this time, there's this deep connection that I have and passion. And that really was the ladder and the climb through my career.
hmm So when it comes down to that, like what are some of the things that you implemented from your childhood that you learned that kind of like pushed into your career?
Listen to your mother, but not all the time. No, I know that's kind of a silly one.
Yep. Don't talk
For
back.
real, when
We're not
people
gonna do that.
say, yeah, mother knows best and your parents know best, absolutely. The experience that they have, the wisdom that they can bestow upon you, the lessons that they've learned are always something that you want. And I think West Indian parents are so good at wanting to pass on all the lessons and make sure you don't make any of the missteps that they've made
True.
or they think
Yep.
they've made or other people have made. So they want to direct you along this very straightened arrow path that they think is, secure and will make you happy. They really think it will make you happy. But the flip side of that, or I wouldn't even say the flip side, the addition to it is that piece where you have to say, is this for me or is this something I should do, for myself? And I don't know, you
Yeah.
kind of my sister probably learned it earlier than me, but just to take some risks on your own, and that you don't necessarily or you won't always have the support of the people who are in your family or in your friend circle. They may not support you or see the vision that you see. However, taking some risks in life is a good thing, and it will amount to something beautiful. But
Mhm.
I ramble.
And no. You good. You good. Because what you're highlighting right there is that not everyone can see your purpose. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like purpose is something that was given to you individually. It's
Hmm.
like when, on a Friday, when everybody used to, when back in the days, they give you the checks on Fridays and coming around, right? So
Love
your
that.
purpose, your purpose is given to you individually. And when you open that envelope and you look at it and you're like, oh, this is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, or this is the thing that's going to fulfill me. Not everyone has that same envelope.
Hmm.
So to share that with somebody else and be like, hey, look, I got this. They're like, okay, that's not this. And if the majority of the people in the room have something else, it makes you feel like the outcast.
Oh man.
It makes you feel like, wait, hold up. Am I supposed to have this one? And you look around and then you question sometimes, is
It's
this
such a
like
thing.
the life for me?
We all want to try something new, or everybody's dreams. I can say, like, maybe there's a part of it that's exactly like somebody else's, like, even if you want to be a doctor, but there's a piece of it that's so unique to you, that is so attached to who you are and where you came from, the reason why you want to do it, the effort, the attention, the care you're going to put into it. That all comes from you specifically. And like you said, like your purpose, but you got
Mm,
to see it. And, I don't know. I just think the best way to show people is always through action versus,
yeah.
hey, I want to do this. What do you think? You kind of just should just go do it and show them, look at where I've gotten, look at what I've done so far.
Mhm. And what is like maybe two things that you cherish from your culture, like currently today? When you look back at it all, you see how you grew up, you see the culture. What are like two major
The
things?
arts, the art that we do specifically in the Caribbean is so unique, and often it gets classified as like arts and crafts, but there's so much that goes into the carnival arts. Whether you're playing a big mask costume, the engineering,
The
the
music,
intricacies of it, the
yeah,
music, the
even the
designer, the
planning.
performance. Say it
Yeah, the
again.
performance, the planning.
But that to me, that's my favorite thing that my culture gave me is that I got to be a performer. So, here I was, like, this person who, sure, you're somewhat academic, or, you could just do these things, but my culture opened up a platform for me to be a performer. Like, I competed 4 times. I won 3 times the female individual competition. And
Okay.
my sister's the 9-time queen of
Because
Toronto Carnival.
because of the outfit or because of the performance?
It's everything. So you get scored on like 5 different categories, which is not only the costume itself, it's the performance, which also ties in the music, which ties in the theme of the costume and the band. Um, and so much time and effort goes into this, visualizing what you're going to do when you get on stage. But that's one thing I really appreciate about my culture, that it gave me that piece, and I think it helps me walk into rooms now too, even when I'm nervous, scared, don't have the confidence, or think I maybe don't belong. There's that performative aspect that I lean back on. And I'm like,
Mm,
sometimes you didn't know
mhm.
what you could do on the stage, but you've seen it in your head, what you're
Yeah.
supposed to do. And you
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
just have to tunnel vision and execute on that. So it gave me that to be a performer, but also cross through in my professional life, where often I have to tell myself, you just need to perform this action. And I've learned from my sister too, she's an actor, and when she has a new role, a new character, it feels so difficult sometimes. She's like, I don't know what they want me to do. I don't know how to do this. And then eventually at the end of the season, when you're going on stage, she knows it. And I'm like, right, it's the same thing in life. You have to, something that you've never done before will feel uncomfortable at first. It might feel like
Yeah.
you're just performing it. It might feel like um you're faking it, when people say fake it till you make it, but that's you
Yeah.
just like trying to find it inside of yourself. Like, you have it already, it just feels weird what you're doing.
Yeah. No, 100%. I give it to you on that. Like that is definitely true. You feel that you have those butterflies
Yeah,
inside, when you first start off, but you just got to kind of like push through that moment, and I could only imagine, someone like yourself, you got to see and witness Carnival at a very young age, right? And now to be at the leadership position that you're in, like it was just like you probably never even thought that little girl watching people walking past, going to these competitions and seeing these things, to even entering in to then being a leader,
yeah,
right? Um,
never dreamt it, did not
that's
know,
beautiful.
was
That's a
not part of the plan. But that's why I like, we have to say, God is good.
yeah, that's right. Say it
God is
again.
good. If you trust, if you follow, the breadcrumbs, and doesn't mean it won't be hard. It has
Yeah,
felt like a challenge and a half and a million. Um, but if you follow the breadcrumbs and you trust and you're willing to pivot and try something new, your life will open up to you in ways that you never dreamt of.
you're like the modern day Cinderella.
Seriously,
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You
it's
went to
really
that
good.
ball, you saw it, you witnessed it. You were like, "This is where I need to be."
People come up to me and they're like, I could not think of a better person. Like, I've known you for so long, and what you were about, how you care about this, your time you and your family have spent in this carnival. And they're like, this is like a no-brainer, but nobody saw it until it happened. And then all the pieces start clicking. So even that, it's like nobody saw it until they saw it. And then
True.
everybody was like, of course, this makes the most sense. But I want to go back to your question too. I'm going to work on being more succinct with my answers. That's one of my goals as CEO, that if when I get the opportunity to speak somewhere, I want to be, hit the points in a way that don't have me trying to find them as I go through it. But either
Well,
way,
you
go
got a
please.
lot. You got a lot to say. So just know that it definitely will be, because you got a long history, girl. This ain't like
Say-
graduated from college and you just
You're
started working.
making me feel so young. You're
You,
making me feel so
you
young,
you
but you're
have
right.
a lot of information to share. So when you start those conversations, you're pulling from 10 different things. And it all
It's,
comes back. But at the end, you just got to find a way to all bring it back together. But you do so
right.
far, you're doing a wonderful job with it.
Thank you.
But
Thanks, Paul.
what was like your first experience, like when you were in Carnival, when you got to witness it? Like, what was one of the best memories?
Oh my goodness. Best memories. Okay. When I was a kid, when I was 6 years old, we were playing Carnival in Toronto. And at this time, no band had a children's section. It was not a thing in Toronto Carnival at that time. So my mom was like, are you guys crazy? Like, I'm bringing, I don't know how my mom decided that everywhere she went, she would be taking these two little girls with her, no matter what, so that they would experience all of this. But my mother took it upon herself to have made two costumes like the adults, but in a kids version, so that we could go to the parade. And part of the costume was a thing called, we call it a backpack, but pretty much it's the costume that there's a piece that fits on your back and it has
Yep.
this beautiful array. And I was 6 and I thought this was like the height of carnival, like
Yes.
embodiment, like to have this costume that had this whole back piece and everything. So when it was my turn to get this, I can specifically remember just being like, yes, like I want to be like the older kids and the adults and like wear the back piece, not just like a,
Not
a
just an
costume like
outfit.
this other person. Exactly.
You
So
knew when
that
you had the back piece, you was a part of the front line.
yeah, exactly. I knew. I was like, yeah, I'm special now, right? This is
Yeah.
more special. And then the other piece is, and this is something that can never be replaced. It's the most exhilarating part for me. And that's when you get strapped into if you perform at the King and Queen Showcase and you have these huge costumes, 20 to 25 feet high and similar in width and depth. They're very heavy,
Yes.
and um,
And it's hot.
and it's hot. And you're probably, when you're performing in a complete, like, leotard and everything and the makeup and people around you. But when you get strapped into this costume, it feels like 100 men on your back or something. And there's nothing like that moment when it is your turn you're about to go on stage and the people who are assisting you, my mom is always there. And they say, like, are you good? Like, you're good now. We're going to leave you. And
You're
it's,
like,
yeah, exactly. You
yeah.
literally feel like, and that's part of the job and the performance is that you feel like this. There's restrictions to your body because of how you have to carry the costumes, and you also feel the weight. And you have 3 minutes to perform. So, just like if you ran a 100-meter race as fast as you could, your energy, you start to lose. You have to pace yourself. The lactic acid starts building up in your legs. But
Okay,
um,
coach.
I love that moment. It's so special because it's only you now, and it's up to you to. Uh, you kind of have to know I'm gonna leave everything that I have on this stage. I don't know if it's. I really learned from my sister, who I think she really carved out her own type of performance and set a trend and a tone for what is expected of people when you're on stage. How do you bring your costume out? What's that opening music? What are you doing with your hands and your body? All of these things I learned from watching her. But I just love that moment, and I that's what I miss.
Okay. I like that. You making me want to strap up or something.
We can make it happen. I'm your girl.
I trust. I know you are. I know you are. Now, growing up in an immigrant household, right? I know that has got to be very challenging, right? Speaking from my experience as well too, because of the career path our parents and our grandparents want us to kind of pursue. Talk to us a little bit more about like your educational journey and how'd you, work alongside your parents trying to live up to their standard, but then still carving your own path.
Oh my gosh, can I say hi, mom? Like,
Okay, big up,
I have, for starters, I hit the jackpot when it comes to family. I'll just say that. My mother is exceptional woman who poured and poured and poured everything that she could into her kids. And I don't know if there's no way for me to ever repay her for all of these things that she's afforded me in my life. But wow, a parent's job is so difficult, especially an immigrant parent's job. When you come to, this country and a landscape that's so different than, back home, there wasn't that thing that my mom had to experience in Canada, where you walk into a university class and you're the only Black person in the entire class. So she had all these experiences too that you carry with her, and you try to pass on things to your children so they don't have to experience them themselves. My mom for sure was like, there was no conversation about going to university or not. I can tell you
Mhm.
that, which I think is like is a lot of people. But my mom was like, I remember some friends were like, "Oh, we're gonna skip a year and travel." My mom's like, "Don't even bring those talks in this house." Like,
You want to eat tonight?
yeah, don't
Yeah.
don't bring those talks over here.
Yeah.
So we didn't. But formal education, having that university degree is something that my mom wanted me to have. She felt that it would empower me as a young Black woman and empower my sister. So I definitely did that. I always wanted to be a leader. I don't know how else to explain that other than to say that. Like I always wanted to be a leader in a way that was, how do I make an impact on the most people as possible, at the
Mhm.
highest level possible, you can make an impact in it's like even with politics, I've learned, um, if you want to make a lot of real change, you kind of have to get involved in politics to a certain extent,
Yeah.
and being a part of the carnival, there's a huge aspect of it that is a government advocacy at all levels of government. So I have to get my feet wet in that arena. I lost track of my thoughts, which is growing up in an immigrant parent
Yeah,
household
like that,
career.
the educational
So yeah,
background.
I mean, I did that education piece. I dabbled or thought about doing many different like other post undergrad education, but never. It didn't really happen. I sang, I did this, I worked, and I always was trying to find my way. And I was an executive assistant for about 13 years, and that's kind of the place where I started to feel a little bit at home. And I think it was also comfortable too for my family that I had this stable career of an EA.
Okay.
From that, I learned so much. I went through so many different experiences that let me know that I had to, or I wanted to try something different. And I will tell you that when I first was applying to the job that I entered into the carnival with, which was their festival manager, I didn't tell my mom that I was applying for it. And let me tell you, my mom and I are very close. We talk about
Okay. I mean,
three
you
times
said
a
she was
day.
grabbing you and your sister like this. Come on, we going.
Yeah, no, because I think also parents wonder, you know, leading nonprofit or organizations that are so rooted in the community, and being a part of it in the way that we were a part of it for my entire life. There's all these, connotations and ideas about what it's like and what it would be like. For example, to work in an organization full of Caribbean people, okay? And we have our own way. So I think she always just, was concerned. And I came from working at Deloitte, which is a great place. I
Yes.
love working there. And she was like, you can't leave Deloitte to go and do this. But I just knew, I just knew. I was like, I gotta spread my wings. And a piece that was so instrumental to that, and it also is about a letdown that was a redirection, and I didn't know what was coming after. But
Hmm. Hmm.
a couple months before I applied to the carnival, I was the senior executive assistant to the chief legal officer. And at the time, she had, was trying to find a chief of staff. And at some point, I said, you know what, I can do this. I think I can do it. I'm going to push myself. I'm going to tell her I want it and I want to apply to it. And I did that. And I respect her so much for that conversation that we had. She was like, she was also a woman, and women often get promoted to positions of power and leadership when things are in trouble and they really need help,
Well, that
to
lets you
say,
know something.
come save this. She was in a position too where she had to deliver on what she had to deliver on in a very short space of time. And I didn't have the experience and the skills to do that job specifically for her. And she was like, I think you're great. I like, you're amazing. I would not have gotten this far without you. But what I'm looking for that is different. And I had to take that. And to be honest, it didn't, I've taken on the philosophy of like, don't letdowns aren't letdowns. Like I got that far by trying to be a positive person. And
Mm.
if I was given that position, when the carnival one came up, I might have applied. But if they offered it to me, I would have said no,
I
because I
see.
would have felt, not only obligated because somebody took a chance on me, taking me from an EA and making me a chief of staff. It was a company and a department that was, growing, and there was so much career growth there for me. I would have stayed there. And if I did that, I would never have been able to be the festival manager and then
Yeah. Yeah.
become the
Yeah.
CEO.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff is really weird. I didn't tell my mom. She found out. She was just like, "What? Are you crazy?" And the great thing about Deloitte is they gave me a year sabbatical. That's another thing about when you work for these
Yeah. When you
amazing,
work for those types of companies, tap
they were like,
tap
we
in.
see your value here, and we understand what you want to do right now for yourself and for your community. You can take 1 year off, and go and pursue this thing. And that for sure helped my mom and
Yeah.
feel a lot more comfortable. Um, but that's kind of as the story goes. And here we are today, and it's still hard. And I think for my mom too, and for parents, when you're taking risks or stretching yourself to do something that you've never done before,
Yeah.
it scares the crap out of them.
Yeah. It, it's
They
a
don't want you to fall on your face. They don't want you to embarrass yourself. They don't want you to come to them, in a mess, also crying.
well,
I'm
true, true. And you know what? And when I think back of it now, like they made a lot of mistakes in their time, but sometimes parents try to shield us from making our own mistakes because as immigrant parents, they're like, you know what? I don't want my daughter or my son to go to endure what I did. I want them to have a better life. But a better life doesn't mean shielding us from the experiences that we need to go to help us become the people that we need to be, right?
Amen.
Those letdowns, those arguments, those tough conversations, sometimes our parents try to kind of hold us back from that and try to take on that battle by themselves.
Yep.
But then it doesn't help us become the individuals that we need to be, right? So with you obviously working at Deloitte, I mean, I'm assuming there was a lot of great experiences that came through there, and some of those things you had to kind of face on your own. Could you speak a little bit more about that, like how it was at working at Deloitte?
For starters, I was one of those people who I drank the Kool-Aid, like they call it's a Deloitte green dot. And here's a company who, to me really puts the people first. And when
Yes.
you do that, the impact on their lives and what they're able to give back is tenfold. The cool thing about Deloitte too is the opportunities are endless for you to educate yourself. Like
Okay.
the amount of these companies have, it's a dream to work there or be a leader of a department. Everything is set up. Your computer is not working right. You're this, you're that. There's a person available to assist you or to get each piece of the work done. So it is, wow, my brain keeps going sideways. What was it like for me to work there?
Like in when you look back, obviously working at Deloitte and what you do now is it some has some similarities. But like, what was so special about being at Deloitte? I do admire what you said a little bit earlier about like how they really are very heavily based on making sure that the workers, the staff members are taken care of. Like you said, you had a whole year off and they were still taking care of you. That right there lets you know the caliber of this type of company. But it also goes to show the individual who was working there, because that doesn't happen to just everybody who works there, right?
And
You have to put in that time and that effort, but you put in the time and effort because you felt valued there.
absolutely. And I can tell you, I was like, the best way maybe is for me to just tell you a little story about my time there. And it will say about my experience. But prior to even taking that year off, it was in 2019. I was off work for 6 months on a sick leave. I had to have my gallbladder removed. I was like lost all this weight. I was under 90 pounds. It was a tough time. However, I worked at this beautiful company who supported me while I had to do that. So I was off work for 6 months, and I thank God all the time for that, because during that time too, I felt like a failure. I was like, where are you going? Like, you didn't, all the dreams you have are kind of old dreams. And I didn't have any new ones at that place in my life. So I felt really low, and it was very hard to even go back to work when it was time. But when I went back, they placed me in this office of general counsel. And I was like, okay, I like, it was a little bit slower pace. So I'm like, okay, this is probably a good place for someone just getting back into it. But I was like, I want to go back to supporting, the people who are in the busy area and are the high, executives and all this stuff. But either way, I was like, take time and focus on what you are. I also, when I came back, I was like, you know what are my values and am I living by them? And one of them was just this idea of Black excellence. I'm like, this is something that's so important to me. And I was like, I wasn't sure if I was really living that way in all areas of my life. So when I went back to work, I was like, I'm just going to come with this excellence, no matter what I have to do, no matter who asks me, I'm going to do that. And in 3 months, the general counsel that was there came up to me and was like, would you like to do some education, like a paralegal diploma? We think you're really bright. You have a lot to offer here. We'll pay for it. Da, 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 da. I'm like, okay, great. So that was encouraging.
Pay for it too.
Amazing. Pay for it too. So I went and I signed up for that. And I do have my paralegal diploma now, thanks Deloitte. But they even helped me
Shout out to Deloitte. I'm going to have to go apply.
Listen, being an adult student, it was scary, but because I had this company supporting me and backing me, gave me the confidence to say, oh yeah, you can go back to school. You'll be fine. Either way now, I was there doing that. A new chief legal officer came in, Sarah Kader, the amazing female leader. And about 9 months into her time there, she, finally got to me. You have to make your rounds, meeting everybody in the department.
Yep.
I'm just one of the EAs, so we're not on the front end of the list. So she met me, and we chatted for 30 minutes. And she said, oh, you should do a presentation. It was during the pandemic, to our group. Every week, I'm going to ask somebody else to present on something. Why don't you do it on, how you're keeping your mental health together? And then somebody said, I think you're on the agenda tomorrow. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take this real seriously. It's just a little fun thing, but it's an opportunity to speak in front of 30 people in your group who never get to hear you speak. So I spend some time, make a presentation, walk them through, my Calm app and this and that. And at the end of it, everybody was like,
wow,
Mischka, we knew you were a light, but we didn't know, how. And even that, I had to just tell myself, perform this. You're not Mischka the EA.
Okay.
Oh, I'm the smallest person on the totem pole. You're Mischka who has the ears of everybody that's in this room right now. And you're going to wow them with how dynamic this presentation is, how meaningful it is, and how helpful it is. And I did that. And 2 weeks later, I was the EA for the chief legal officer. It was like, that girl, that's who I want to help me.
Was this like the breakthrough for you? Like like everyone has like that moment in their life when they realize.
Yes, it was like a super affirmation that in my own mind, I was like, you got it. Beyonce has a song, I don't remember what it's called, but it says like, but I'm that girl, and you have to
Shout out to
talk
Lady
to
B.
yourself like that. Love Beyonce. But that was a moment that I said, someone's giving you the chance, and how will you show up? And it's just in that 30-minute conversation and in that presentation that I had the highest person in the department, one of the highest people in the organization, saying, I want to work with her. Because she's, but not only because of how my work ethic or what you think I will do, but that she is committed to being an optimistic person, committed to growth, committed to efforts. I'm taking my paralegal diploma, all of these things, say something to somebody. And then, yeah, I was in that role with her for maybe not even a year when I made the shift to the carnival. But all of
Mhm.
these things happened really fast. And for sure, it was a lot of taking advantage of what is already there and what's being offered to you and not trying to hide. I think we try to hide sometimes, even in giving a presentation like, oh, I don't want to do it, in a charismatic way where you can see my hands and I'm talking to you like this because people are going to say, who does she think she is
Yeah,
giving
yeah.
a presentation like this? Who does she think she
It's
is
yeah.
using a PowerPoint and video?
Especially if you don't have that type of connection with those people. Like you said, they didn't hear from you. So this is the first time they actually get to hear you give a presentation. You're walking in there like, all right, guys, here's a full-blood, PowerPoint presentation. Everyone, here's brochures and pamphlets. Turn to page 2. Now it's like, wait, hold on. We didn't
Yeah.
sign up for this. So I could see where some individuals, might feel like, wait, a little hesitant
And that's
when it
not your
comes to,
business. That's what I learned too. That's not your business.
but you did it and you
No,
did it well. And look what happened.
thank
It
you.
led to a lot of great things. And now being where you are right now, just this has got to be like every day's got to be fun. Every day's got to be joy because you bring so much joy to a lot of people by being in the position that you're in. But to the listeners, I know a lot of the listeners are listening. They are coming from different backgrounds. Could you give the listeners a clear understanding about like Toronto Caribbean Carnival and like the history and the mission?
Oh man. So Toronto Caribbean Carnival we're in our 57th
I was
year.
like, hold on now.
I know we're a leading Caribbean arts and cultural organization in North America, and our mandate is to promote Caribbean arts and culture through the production of various events, but also programs and business development. For example, we have a program called the Building Black Entrepreneurship Program. It's in its 3rd year, so the 3rd cohort. It's in collaboration with George Brown College. That's one of the big colleges that are in the city of Toronto, and completely free, high school age to as long as you can log onto a computer. You go through a 10-month program and end up with a certificate in entrepreneurship. And this is so valuable for not only, the high school student who has some ideas. We actually had a family graduate together, a father in his late 50s and his 2 sons
Let's
in their
go.
early 20s. And then the father was chosen as the valedictorian for the cohort. This is last year. I'm getting chills. Like the you said every day must be fun. Every day is emotional.
Mm, mm.
Every day is emotional.
That's how you know you were swimming in your purpose. You're not
Yeah,
even walking, you swimming.
every day is emotional. There is, that program has birthed 130 new businesses, new Black
Ooh,
businesses,
come on.
400 new jobs,
Let's
and
go.
$2 million of economic impact to the economy. But I can do even better. The Toronto Caribbean Carnival Festival has contributed, actually, not has contributed, every year. So these are my numbers from 2023. $480 million of economic impact, $180 million in tax revenues to all levels of municipal government, 4,000 direct jobs. The ecosystem of the carnival is a beautiful, beautiful thing that provides so much to our people in our community. And I see it as a vessel or a vehicle for our further liberation. It's so fitting that the carnival was born out of liberation and freedom. And I
Yes,
believe it is still serving this purpose that it
yes.
will liberate us. It will provide us more freedom. Even the businesses that rely on the festival existing are mass bands. We have 18,000 people buy costumes every year to be in this parade.
That's a big check.
2.3 million people attend the festival
Oh, people are flying in from everywhere.
everywhere. We're the number one tourist driver to the city of Toronto. And it's only fitting because the city of Toronto, sometimes we go between the number 1 spot and the number 2 spot, but I like to say number 1. We're the number 1, the most diverse city in the world, with the most diverse Caribbean carnival in the world, because it's so special. It was created by our immigrant parents and grandparents and aunties and uncles. It wasn't necessarily, birthed from the specific emancipation moment or movement. It had to be brought here by our people. And not only that, too, it was our ancestors from many different islands. Jamaica,
Yes.
Grenada, St. Vincent, Trinidad, St. Lucia, Guyana, people say
Montserrat.
that South America, Montserrat, thank you, Nevis, St. Kitts and Nevis. We could go on and on. I want to make sure that I rep all of them. I should probably have a sheet.
I know, right? Go down the line. Like you at the Grammys or something.
Yeah, all of these islands combined to make this
powerful.
So it is the most unique.
Haiti.
Haiti. We love you, Haiti. Haiti's going through, the history of our people is painful, and it still is ongoing. Like, we are still oppressed people. And when we think about countries like Haiti, who are still experiencing the effects of or what has been left, or the damage that has been done from colonization, that's why we're in these scenarios and where it's at. But the thing that's beautiful here is we want to recognize all the islands, all the French-speaking islands. We want, and this carnival is representative of us all, and that's why our slogan is diversity and culture live here.
You better preach today. You better drop that.
So, I got church per day. I'm not afraid to tell people. I just want to be super honest about what's in front of me right now.
Yeah.
Notes and notes for days, because you can't remember it all.
Well, that was good.
Remember it all.
That was you put it in, and you really, and not only did you say
anything else that I missed,
you said it in a very emotional way too, that it grabbed me in. I was like, I already knew of it, but you made me just dive in with you. I was at the shoreline. I was watching you, right? Now I'm like in the water with you, because you brought it, but you really hit on something very big. This is a moment where we can look back at our culture, at all the various different islands, just as Caribbean people, right? And how all those islands came together. We come from different, we might be separate by island, right? By water. But we came together to create something so special. 57 years later, it is being done, but even on a higher scale. It's helping to help give individuals opportunity to employ themselves, get certificates. Some people are not able to go to college, but then going through this 10-month program, they're able to get something that could help them create their own business. And you gave some amazing stats that other companies wish they had, even with all the resources that they do have. You're able to do it just like that. But that just goes to show the people who are running it, and it goes to show the people who are behind it and pushing for this. So kudos to you, your team, and to that community in Toronto for this kind of just being the pioneers and really making sure that people truly understand what the Caribbean culture could truly do when we put our minds together. It's beautiful. It truly is. It's just not known for just nice sands and nice water and great food. When our people unite, there's strength in that unity.
It even reminded me so much that it's like, I heard somebody say it, and it's something that I have written on a piece of Post-it note somewhere around here, but it's like, it's one island in every island. Like, there's this togetherness that exists that is, like you said, every single island. Like, there's so much we share amongst us. And there's a lot that is perceived about us that is blanketed across the Caribbean or the West Indies, right? But then what's also so beautiful is that aspect of every island. Like, every island is its own unique, specific, beautiful culture. Pieces of carnival are different. We've got different national dishes. We know jerk chicken. We know that belongs to Jamaica. Like, there's no.
Some people might contest. I'll let you know that.
I've never heard this before.
Some people be talking
about everything else except for that.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to let me know. Let me know. I know the jerk chicken in Jamaica is popping.
In your household, like St. Lucia versus.
They be going back and forth sometimes. I like, Mom, Dad, stop it. We're not going to talk about that. We in America right now. Let's just be a unit right now. Let's be a unit.
They really can't be.
What is one of the best parts about your job?
contributing to something that's given me so much, for sure.
You are.
I tell people, I'm like, my people made me a CEO. My people said, we see you. My people said, there's something about you that you have to offer. A lot of people, Mischka, we think it's you, you know? It was my own community. And when I was a kid in school, like elementary school, I never talked about being in the carnival. It was too, you're a kid, you're like, people don't like things that are different. It's weird. We wear costumes, all this stuff. I never, never, never talked about it. And to think that I had or felt I had to hide that beautiful piece of myself. Um, I don't know. Now I get to wear it all the time, like in every single way. And it also just
Mhm.
shows like the power to manifest. Oh my God. When I was in the pandemic, I was like, I got to do something that is connected to my community. My mom, my sister, and we kind of, retired from the whole, making costumes and performing. And so we could go on and do other things with our summer. And my sister is so blessed to be a lead actor at Stratford. Stratford is Canada's equivalent to Broadway in New York. It's a
Yep,
huge
that's
theater,
right. Yep.
and here's my sister going on this stage every day and living this dream. It's so beautiful. Um, my sister won Queen 9 times. It's the most anybody of any Caribbean carnival in the world. However, it mattered nothing outside of our carnival community when she did it. And I'm like, my job here is to ensure and make sure that anything anybody does inside of this organization on this platform for this community, when you go out there to the Deloittes and the EYs and to Zaka, everywhere, that they respect it and they see the value that you did that. But even for my sister as a performer, I want them to see that you competed, you were on this showcase in the carnival arts, and that they understand it and they know it and they say, yep, that's
Mhm.
something that someone should be, proud of or is an accolade, as opposed to people not respecting it. But yeah, it's so much to do. There's so much to
Yeah.
do. I don't know if I have the years left to do it, but one thing that I've noticed so much, which is beautiful, is that God sends the soldiers. If you ask for it, I remember what I was saying before, your ability to manifest. Sorry.
Mhm.
In the pandemic, I wanted so badly to connect to my culture. So I started to look at organizations like volunteering here, whatever, Caribbean Women's Organization. Um, and I went to a few general meetings and I was like, this is not really what I'm looking for, just people talking. And then this job came up. Um, and I applied and that went next step and next step. But it is so wild to me how much I wanted that connection piece so bad. And I also wanted the upward mobility in my career. And that those two desires kind of came together at this magic moment. And I got the career upward mobility and I also got the culture piece. And I don't know, I guess the sky's the limit now.
Mhm. Mhm. So, with all that being said, what is the expectation for Carnival this year, and what are some of the events that you're looking to host or you're looking forward to? I know you
Mm.
probably can't spill the beans on everything.
Listen, the biggest and most amazing thing that's happening this year has never happened before in the history of the carnival. All of our events for that main festival weekend are going to be in the same location. So
Oh,
not only is this good for us, like economies of scale, but it just elevates the entire presence of
yes.
the festival. So from August 1st to 5th, there will be events at exhibition grounds. My favorite event, if you really want to see what the carnival arts, the beauty of it, the what our people do, the creativity, the innovation, that's the night to come. It's not wild like the parade. It's more of a showcase that you can watch. Same like if someone presented in the theater. Then on the Friday, we have our Pan Alive, our steel pan competition. That's like they do in Trinidad, their panorama. Saturday is a beautiful parade. And on Sunday and Friday, we kind of have two events that are bubbling and coming out slowly but surely. I'll give you guys a sneak peek, even though we haven't released it yet on our social media and other pages. But
Okay,
on the
shots fired.
Friday, we'll be having a Friday night mass, which is a version of Grenada's Monday night mass.
Let's
It's
go.
less
Oh,
about the pretty mass costumes and all about the fun, the revelry. There, to me, there's a mix of like Monday mass and also Monday mass kind of meets Juve, and in the middle, there's lots of lights. Um, and it's really like more of a t-shirt mass with themes, but it's a lot of fun, and that will be happening on the Friday. And on the Sunday, we're having International Rum Fest. So if you care about rum, and I feel like all West Indian people do, it's an opportunity to come out, do something a little bit more low key, a little bit elevated of an experience, and also be able to have some rum. I mean, and the parade, everybody should know that the parade is
yeah,
something that you don't miss. Like
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
skim
You got to
over it
show up.
because it's just second nature to me. Like nobody, we don't question if you're going to go to the parade. You have to go to the parade. You have to see that amount of costumes and people. And we shut down Lakeshore Avenue. And it becomes this beautiful succession of costumes and people and enjoyment. And I mean, at the end of the day, while we are celebrating our emancipation and our liberation and freedom, we are there to celebrate life, to celebrate each other, to celebrate diversity and culture,
Yes, come on now.
all
Inclusion,
of these
everything.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful things. So,
Mm.
anyways, I'm
It's
really looking forward to it.
I just want to let you know that from our conversation, I am definitely looking forward to, and I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, attending this year, and hopefully being able to partner with you guys as the time goes by. You know, because I know that you guys are always bringing communities together, and you know, any way our Zaka community can be connected to that, we would love to. You know, because it's important that you know our individuals that are first generation and second generation immigrants get to see the power and the beauty of people coming together for a really great cause.
Mhm.
57 years in the making. It's
Listen, our
got,
theme this
it's
year
not even
is,
ready.
I'm like, what's the theme this year is love and togetherness. Because I feel like the carnival is approaching the promised land, you know, where everybody is working together harmoniously for the greatest and highest good of each other and all. Like it's
Mm.
happening slowly but surely. It's my goal. I'm going to ensure it. And I keep showing up every day to do my best and, you know, try to lead the way.
Okay. Well, I'm saying, look, one love, one love. We are outside this summer. We are outside this summer.
It is always a hot girl and a hot boy summer in Toronto. Let me just say that. We are locked up, hibernating all. So when June, July, August hits,
Yeah,
this
y'all don't know how to
city
act.
has it's a
Like,
different vibe. It's
um,
and the people, there's just beautiful
yeah.
events and people and experiences everywhere. It's amazing.
When I fly out there to my sister sometime, the minute I leave New York, right, I already know that these people on the plane are not just going up there to see family. They're coming to you
Yeah.
because they're already partying on the plane. Trust, the energy is felt on the plane. The captain is probably like, yeah, everyone's waving flags because they know once they land, it's going down. It's
You
going
know,
down.
I would love a picture, you know, of a plane full of people coming in, you know, waving their flags
Yeah,
or doing
it's
something. I'm
crazy.
going to work on that.
Yeah, come on. Maybe I'll be on that flight.
You have to
I'll
be
spearhead
the lead
everyone
guy. You have to be the
handing
lead
out
guy.
flags to everybody. What's your flag? Where you from? Here's your flag. Here's
I
your
love
flag.
it.
Well, my last words or last question to you is really like, what is like a word of advice that you would give to like the listeners looking to pursue like in this career path? You know, we're looking to start. You know, I know that and you know, obviously they don't want to disappoint their family members when pursuing something like this. What is some word of advice?
Keep showing up.
Those words are big. Showing up.
People talk about, you know, give a 1% effort every day and it will all add up. And that it's so hard to quantify or to figure out, you know, how much effort to give here or there or how much to listen to this person or that person. But if you have a dream or an idea or anything, And every day, even when somebody tells you something that can stop you from pursuing it or from continuing on with that idea or from asking another person what they think, just remember that the people who win, the people who climb, the people who get up to, the positions or the income or the whatever it is you're after, all they do is keep showing up every day for the same cause and that same reason. And you may think you're doing no percent some days. And some days you might think you're doing 20%, you've made strides. But if you keep, showing up, a year later, 6 months later, 3 months later, you'll always see something that wasn't there before. And to
Sure.
make sure that when you see those things, don't let how far you are from whatever it is stop you from the continuation. That little breadcrumb is a sign of motivation and to keep going and keep going, keep showing up. Some days I cry, and then I have
Hey,
to come
look,
into work, and it's okay.
it's okay, Cinderella. It's okay. You are where you are. You made it to the palace. And you not only have you made it there, you kept on building, right? You didn't just walk in there and say, look, I'm here. I finally made it. You were continuously contributing to the growth of that community. And it's a blessing to hear your journey. I'm so honored to have you on the show today and really being able to kind of have this intellectual conversation about like the mission, the purpose, and knowing that you started off as that young youth, who just said, look, I'm just following my mom, to now leading this whole thing. Right. So it is an honor. Thank you. Thank you so much for just taking your time. I know your time is very valuable and is being present with us today.
No, thank you.
Mm.
Any
Well,
chance to amplify our voice? I mean, I can only tell you thank you, thank you, thank you, and really appreciate it.
well, I'm going to let the listeners know if you want to hear more inspirational stories like Mischka, please check us out on ZakaConnect.com. Follow our social at Zaka Connect and follow our feed Zaka wherever you listen to your podcasts.